What kind of food has the light and fluffy kind of? No food. No food has LDL in it. Sorry, you don't eat LDL. LDL is not cholesterol. I dare anybody to challenge me on that. You know how Steven Crowder always says, change my mind? LDL means low density lipoprotein. The only thing that it has to do with cholesterol is that cholesterol is a substance just like triglycerides, vitamin D, fat-soluble vitamins, and all the other fat-soluble substances that need to be transported through the blood hitch a ride inside of an LDL particle. Calling LDL cholesterol would be like calling LDL vitamin A. If a FedEx truck brings you a birthday cake, do you call, when you see a FedEx truck coming down the street, do you say, hey, here comes a birthday cake? No. A FedEx truck is a FedEx truck. It may carry a birthday cake or anything else as cargo, but it is not. That is the misconception we have been building our entire healthcare message on since Ansel Keys, with no clue about what LDL, HDL, or any other stuff was. Blamed cholesterol, a sticky substance the body uses in many ways because it just happened to have been found at autopsy, at the scene of a cardiovascular event. Of course it was there. It's what the body uses to repair the damage. Doesn't it make sense? And you've all heard the fireman and the fire analogy. The cholesterol is the fireman coming to clean up and fix after the fire happened. Didn't cause the fire, but firemen are always present wherever there's a fire. And Ansel Keys blamed the firemen, turned them into arsonists. And when it comes to cholesterol, we've been blaming cholesterol for being the cause of heart disease ever since, when it's not. It's the ambulance, for God's sakes. It's so firmly entrenched in us. So no, if you eat a food that has a lot of cholesterol in it, it has cholesterol. It's a molecule made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. That's all. It is a fat of sorts. It makes up the skin cells. It shields the neurons in our brain. It does all kinds of things. We can't live without it. We make the lipoproteins in our liver on demand, the level of which our body needs. So if our LDL goes up, it's because something in our physiology thinks we need it. It is the most misunderstood, especially by the medical community. These people are doctors and don't understand biochemistry 101. It is criminal. It's crazy. I've had discussions with doctors about they don't know. How could that be? They don't know basic cellular biology, for God's sakes. They have no understanding. They never heard of things like the Randall cycle, citric acid cycle. You ask one of them, how's ATP made? They would say, what? They don't know. They buy into the drug company's propaganda telling people cholesterol's bad, statins are good, cholesterol's bad, okay? You need to take, no. Can you tell I get so frustrated by these things? And yes, of course, in your question, it is supposed to be much less harmful than the other kind of LDL, which is dense. Of course, that is the whole basis of everything we believe, Kathy. That is a true statement. not only is it less harmful, it's not harmful at all. Not harmful at all in somebody with a healthy metabolism that is not destroying their things. There are many, many, many great videos, hours long out there, that explain in excruciating detail what lipoproteins are and how they work, what damages them, and why the damaged ones cause the problem. But the root cause of all of these problems is inflammation. And the root solution, the best shot we have, is to do everything we can to reduce inflammation. And we know when we're inflamed because we have markers. We have CRP-HS. We have high-definition C-reactive protein tests that can tell you how inflamed your system is. We have ways to tell. And we know that that meat does not cause inflammation, but most plants do, and sugar does especially, and seed oils do even more than that. We know that, which is the basis for the advice in this diet. I could go on like this for days, but you don't eat LDL, so that's, and I can understand why you might think that with all the propaganda that's out there, unless you've taken a dive down a deep rabbit hole like I have. That would seem like a logical question, and I can't fault you for it, because they want you to believe that's that simple, because you think you're that you're actually eating lipoproteins when you're eating cholesterol, and one of them is not the same as the other. But they want that. They don't want people to realize that. They want people, when they think LDL, to think cholesterol. We've been equating those two things for so long that it's just a normal and natural thing for us to do. LDL is not cholesterol. LDL is the FedEx truck. Cholesterol is the cargo, along with all the other cargo that it carries everywhere. We start out with something called VLDL. It's full of, initially full of triglycerides. And that's the body sending out its energy and fat for the cells to burn. And as this big VLDL, sometimes almost, in fact, when they do a triglyceride test, believe it or not, that's what they're measuring. They're measuring very low density lipoproteins, VLDL, very low density. Okay. That's how they measure triglycerides, because they know that the VLDL particles, the biggest ones, are carrying primarily triglycerides and really maybe little or no cholesterol. But the urgency is get the energy out, get the fat out to the cells, and this happens when you're a fat burner. So you get a lot of VLDL. What happens is VLDL runs around the body, delivers all of these triglycerides to the cells, and as the truck empties, unlike a FedEx truck, the VLDL particle gets smaller and smaller and smaller. It offloads its triglycerides, and it still has other things. It has fat-soluble vitamins, it has some cholesterol in there, but they dwarfed in quantity to the triglycerides it was carrying earlier, and it becomes an ILDL, an intermediate density lipoprotein, halfway between the size of a VLDL and a LDL, which is a low density lipoprotein. And it keeps offloading more and more stuff until it becomes the size of a LDL particle. It's the same truck, for God's sakes. It just shrunk because it didn't have cargo in it. So VLDL, ILDL, and LDL, and even HDL, which is the high-density lipoproteins, are all the same particle. They're just at different stages of their delivery route during the day. And when they become LDL, now they probably contain a higher percentage of cholesterol, and they take on a different role in the body. Instead of those little trucks delivering fat to the cells in mass quantities, now they join the immune system patrol and become more like ambulances than delivery truck. And their job now is, because now they have a higher percentage of cholesterol, which is what the body uses to repair, these little LDL particles now become firemen and ambulance workers. And they're dispatched by the immune system to areas of inflammation to help smooth it out and patch it up, especially in our coronary arteries. And that's the progression. It's the same truck. They just put a different sign on it. And that sign that's on the truck is in the form of what they call an APO, APO. You've heard of ApoB, ApoB 100. That is a license plate, for all intents and purposes, on the truck. That actually tells everything in the body, the cells, the receptors. Well, we're an ambulance now. We were a delivery truck this morning, but now we're an ambulance, and we're available for dispatch. Where's the inflammation? I'm on my way. And they head off to the inflammation, and they deliver some of their cholesterol to be used to repair things and patch things and fix things in a rough, inflamed artery wall, to make sure the blood keeps flowing smoothly. And if you keep getting too much inflammation, of course, these patch material just keeps building up, and that's the cause of something bad. But it's not the LDL particles that are causing what's bad. It's the fact that we're eating a ton of sugar and seed oils, and the oxidative qualities of the seed oils and the sugar, the glucose molecules, are hitching a ride on that little LDL truck. They're glomming on to it, hanging on for dear life. They're glomming onto your red blood cells, which is how they measure what they call A1C. How much sugar is hitching a ride? How much sugar's jumped on and hanging on the back, on the outside of this little truck delivering stuff through the bloodstream? And what's worse are these things that have glommed onto us, destroying the truck. Are they causing the truck to have flat tires? And worse things of all, have one of those things glommed on top of the license plate, so this truck can no longer be identified by the body as anything it recognizes. And that's what happens to these poor little LDL ambulance little trucks that are trying to deliver stuff to fix things. These sugar molecules, which are so high in your blood, these oxidizable chemicals that come from the seed oils and things that are called free radicals, and are the reason why we focus so highly on vitamin C and antioxidants, is because you've got tons of this shit in your body because of your bad diet. They now are destroying your little ambulances. And at the end of the day, at the end of the journey of these little ambulances that are LDL particles out there trying to do their best, deliver the raw building materials to the site of where the bomb went off. At the end of the day, they end up, if nothing goes wrong, unloading completely, and they go back to the liver. And they get into the liver through a receptor, which can recognize their license plate. Think about that. Like a loading dock. So the empty little LDL done a hell of a job. Started out life as a big fat truck delivering fuel to run the body. Shrunk down, took its cargo of cholesterol, which it hadn't used yet, became smaller, didn't have any more fat to deliver for fuel, repainted itself into an ambulance and rescue vehicle, and told the immune system, I'm an LDL now, I'm ready to go to work. Fighting evil, repairing damage caused by excess inflammation. Here I go. And you, with your addiction, have filled your body full of sugar, seed oils, oxidative crap, and that sugar is in your bloodstream. Your blood sugar's high. and it starts glomming on the outside of these little ambulances trying to do their job and covers up their license plates. At the end of the day, they go back to the doc, and the liver says, "Who the hell are you?" "Well, I'm an LDL." "Prove it." "We don't see any license plate. You can't come in here. We don't know what you are. You are exiled to the bloodstream." These LDL particles are now glycated, oxidized, small, damaged LDL. They are tiny. They can get stuck up in even inflammation, rough sandpaper-like surfaces in arteries, and that, my friends, is the cause of heart disease. It's not cholesterol. I understand that, and I believe it. You may not believe it or understand it. You may have to hear it or see it. You may have to see diagrams, and you may have to hear some learned professor. You may have to hear Ben Bickman say that, or somebody like Ben Bickman, because he has said that. You may have to hear David Diamond say that. You may have to hear Malcolm Kendrick say that. You may have to hear any of these highly respected researchers and doctors who understand the biochemistry of what an LDL really is and how it does its job before you believe me. But what I've tried to do is just give you an analogy in terms of FedEx trucks and ambulances that may make it a little more clear rather than talking about molecules and chemical diagrams. I hope that helped. Not a lot of people, 133 people heard that. I should really try to make a video, lipoproteins for laymen, but it's hard to explain things like that. Those explanations generally come out spontaneously, not scripted, not for me anyway. But I do understand it. And that question really brought it out about what food should I eat to eat fluffy LDLs? It just shows how nobody understands how this works.